In this tutorial, I'll show you how you can use Excel to create a table of summary statistics of a quantitative variable by a categorical variable. In this example, we'll specifically be looking at the household income data versus the internet access status for Oregon's in 2023. We'll create this type of summary statistics table from a pivot table, as well as creating a visual display, a side-by-side box plot that has household income, the quantitative variable, by internet access. To get started, let's take a look at the raw data. We're going to start by creating the pivot table and summary statistics table. To create a pivot table, go up to Insert, and under Insert, click Pivot Table. Here, it'll automatically put this in a new worksheet as default, so we can press OK. From here on the right-hand side, we'll have all of our variables that are in the PUMS housing record data. I want to use Access Internet as one of my variables, so I can select this variable and drop it into rows. Then I want to also use the household income variable, which is HINCP. I can search it up here in this bar so that I don't have to search all the variables. Dragging this down into the values, I'm going to create a calculation for my household income based upon the different outcomes of access to the internet. I'm actually going to do this 3 times, one for the average, one for the standard deviation, and one for the count. From here, I can change these from sum to average under value field settings, go to average and press OK. Then I can also, again, click on the down arrow, value field settings, and change this to standard deviation. One more time, I can go from the sum to value field settings and change it to count. Now I have the basics of my summary statistics table, the average, the standard deviation, and the count, but it's pretty ugly. So now I'm going to copy the values and paste it into a new location into my worksheet. I can now do some editing on this so it looks prettier for my report. The first step is to edit my titles. Now I can add an overall label for my table. And lastly, I need to change the labels of the access internet variable. The PUMS data is coded as 1, 2, and 3, whereas in the legend or the data dictionary, I know that 1 represents yes, and they pay for internet access. 2 represents yes, but they do not pay for internet access. And 3 represents they don't have any internet access at all. So I'm going to change these labels from 1, 2, and 3 to that instead. The last couple steps are to delete my row labels and to change some of the formatting of my numbers. I can see that these go out 4 to 5 digits. I know according to data visualization rules, I want all these to at least be the same digits, and I really don't need this many overall. So I'm going to round these to the nearest dollar and also change this to a currency. So I can do all that under this number area up here. After I do that, I can add additional formatting if I want to, maybe by bolding the title and adding some additional underlining to emphasize different values. Overall, this table looks pretty good that now I can copy and paste it into a new report. The next step is to create our side-by-side box plots. Now, we need to reorganize the format of the data so that instead of having a column for our categorical variable, access to the internet, and a separate column for the quantitative variable, household income, we have a column of household income based upon the access to the internet status, just like we see here. So because we have 3 different outcomes, we'll have 3 different columns of household income data. The easiest way to do this is to go back to our raw data and copy the 2 columns, household income, copy, and then separately copy the access to the internet column and paste these into a new worksheet. Now we have the raw data, but again, it's not in the right format. So now I'm going to create 3 new columns, 1, 2, and 3, to represent the 3 different categories of the access internet variable. Now we're going to use the filter function. Filter the household income array by the outcome in the access internet. And we want to make sure at this first one, it's equal to 1. It will then flash fill all the values that are associated with 1. Now the next step is to do the same thing for 2. So equals filter. Again, taking the household income column, separating with a comma the accessing internet column, and saying we want to take all these cells that are equal to 2. And do the last and final one for 3. So filter, parentheses, the household income column, the accessing the internet column, and 3. Now, we can scroll down and see that these are of different lengths and represent the 3 different accesses to the internet. So we can copy our titles and transpose them right on to these columns. From here, it's easy to create this side-by-side box plot. Highlighting the data, you can go up to Insert and Statistical Charts, box and whisker. It may take a second for it to load because it's a whole bunch of data. Moving over to the side. Now, once we've created the chart, it's all about changing color and aesthetics so the chart looks nicer. First of all, I noticed that my plot is kind of squished. So I can double click on the plot area. Then I can select any of the box plots. Going to the plot looking icon, I can change the gap width. This will change the gap between my different plots, widening or taking up more space now within the plot area. Some other things I can change. I can delete this axis label down here at the bottom. I'm not going to need that, but I will need a legend. To add a legend, I can go to Add Chart Element, and up at the top or at the bottom, I can add a top legend, or I can add it to the side, but I personally like it at the top for this example. Some other things that I can do here is I can also add a vertical axis label. So by adding a primary title, I can add this to be more descriptive. Household incomes in US dollars. I can also add in a descriptive chart title. Household income by internet access status for Oregonians in 2023. Now I can also just select the grid lines and delete them. And last but not least, I can change colors. If I don't like the different colors, I can change it to a monochromatic color scheme so that it's easier to identify which group is on the legend and which box plot represents that group. Now I've created my side-by-side box plot. One thing to take note of in this example is that we have a lot of data points. We also have a lot of outliers. So to get rid of these outliers, we can, once again, double click on the plot, click on any of the options. Going to the plot one more time, you can remove Show Outlier Points, and you can do this for each one of your groups. Notice how that changes the axis overall and really changes the view of your side-by-side box plot. You can choose which one you like more. I don't recommend adding a lot of labels to this, as I think it will clutter up the plot, especially if you already have your table of summary statistics. You have some of those main features already. Hopefully this video better helped you understand how to create a table of summary statistics and some side-by-side box plots.